What's going on, guys? Hope y'all are doing good. Today we're going to be putting a foot brake on the new BombMoto 2024 model. It's going to be a little bit different, so I figured I'd bring you guys along for the ride on this one as well. Kind of show you what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. Maybe you guys can copy me. Of course, you know, I'll put all the links to what I use as far as the foot brake and the master and the caliper itself. That way you guys can grab them yourself. So as always, those are in a link down below. So let me go ahead and show you what I got and the plans for it. All right, so here we go. We got the B1 stripped down. Just recently replaced the motor. So look forward to we're gonna put the stock 11 tooth on and run the flip ski, see what our top speed is. I did realize that I put the wheel diameter in wrong. So the 44 miles per hour I was getting, it's probably closer to 50. So we're going to change that. We're going to throw on a 12 tooth on it as well, see what we can do. So look forward to that. Let's get into the foot brake. So a lot of this stuff I had laying around, as far as, you know, the master right here, and you got the caliper and bracket. So I am going to do a dual caliper bracket. So we're going to end up taking the wheel off and figuring out where I can cut this one and weld it to the bottom of this bracket, and probably have it hang somewhere over here, wherever I can figure it out to, you know, work out good with the angles. And then of course I have my foot brake lever right here. Of course I had to get it blue so I can match all my little blue bits here and there. You know, we got the blue valve stem, blue bars, all that good stuff. So yeah, basically what I needed to do is figure out a pivot point, and basically that means I can tighten this bolt down as hard as I can, but it still has a good pivot right here, and it's not completely locking this down, so this is free to pivot up and down as it pleases. And then of course I kind of made some studs out of some, what are these, M6 I believe, flange bolts with some M6 nuts and just a bunch of washers to space it over to where I needed it. And then from there I just kind of put it up against the bike, figure out where I need this to go, so I have, you know, plenty of pivot room. That way I'm not bottoming out on this before, you know, I even get close to compressing the master cylinder right here. And then of course I have to figure out where the master is going to be bolted. But on the last one I had a bracket that went somewhere like over here. I'm not too sure if it was because the little leverage point for the old foot brake was a lot longer, or these are a little bit farther in, so I'm not too sure. So basically what I'm going to be doing is taking those two nuts, and you can see I kind of have a couple spots marked out. I'm just going to be welding them to the frame like that, and then I got this nut back here that I will be welding somewhere along this point as well, and then of course making them as strong as possible, and that should be good enough for this, honestly. And then of course we will run our brake line down probably through here and underneath, wherever we end up having this caliper figured out. But yeah, it should be pretty easy. Oh, and as far as the pivot point right here, it's basically just a M8 M8 flange bolt with a nut, and then I got a whole bunch of washers that just kind of fit in the hole that was right here. And then I got some washers on the outside. That way when you compress it all down, the washers are going to clamp against the inside washers that are going in the hole. That way you can clamp it down as tight as you can, and it still leaves you able to spin this around so that it's nice and tight, it won't go anywhere, but it's still free to, you know, go up and down. Alright guys, so yeah, I'm going to go ahead and grind off the paint on these right here, get it ready for welding. First thing I'm going to do is tack on the nut for the brake lever and make sure that it got plenty of movement before I fully weld it. And then of course I'll go ahead and reattach the master, put this up to wherever I need it, wherever, you know, it's not going to bind up, and it looks somewhat decent of course. So yeah, let me get right to it and I'll bring you right back. Just like that, we have ourselves a foot brake. Super easy. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it is very easy, but I do only have these tacked up into place right now. And the reason I have these tacked up instead of just went crazy on it is to make sure my foot position is good. So I went ahead, put the plastics on, sat down on it, make sure this wasn't too high up or too far down. So, you know, if it's too far up, your ankle's like pulled up and it's very uncomfortable. If it's too far down, you know, it's going to be hanging low. You don't want to. With these drop pegs, you know, obviously your foot brake's going to be in a low position. So it is a little bit sketchy for, you know, if you case a jump or something like that, which, you know, I really don't jump and stuff like that, but not a big deal. I mean, if it snaps, it snaps. Not a worry. We're going to have our handbrake anyways for backup. But yeah, mainly this is just going to be for me practicing foot brake wheelies, and you know, it's just cool. I like it. Something to keep me entertained, something to keep me busy. But yeah, so this is actually perfect. Like I said, I got my nut tacked back there, so I'm going to fill all that in with welds. We got our two nuts tacked into place here and here. Get those welded up, get them nice and solid, get everything painted. But yeah, I mean, like I said, super easy. Find yourself a pivot point and a bolt and some spacers or something to make you have that pivot point. And then, you know, either make yourself a little bracket or weld some nuts. And of course, be careful not to weld behind the nut, because you want these bolts to obviously come out if you need to service it or anything else. So basically, you know, we'll have the nuts welded, but these bolts, I'll be able to take these out. Of course, finish welding it, paint it up, put it back on. But yeah, so I'm happy with where it's at right now. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take all of this apart, weld the nuts fully, and then we're going to get to welding or making our dual caliper bracket. So I'll bring you along with that. I'll give you an example of what's going to happen. So this is the SSR, and sorry, it's kind of hard to see, but same thing. So we had a stock brake right here, and then we got ourselves a second brake, and basically all I did was cut this bracket up, weld it to the bottom of this bracket, and then ran the lines, so that way he had foot brake and handbrake. Cool deal. So let me go ahead and finish up welding these nuts, and then I'll pull the rear tire off and show you how I go about figuring out the angles, cutting this, making sure I got full engagement with the brake pads, all that good stuff. Let's give you a little peek of what it looks like underneath. Definitely ain't the prettiest, but I'll tell you what, it ain't going nowhere. So I got this welded all the way up and around, then I got the backside welded as well. These ones, I got about half the nut welded on the inside. Two of these, like I said, this thing ain't going anywhere. Cool, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw it on real quick just to make sure everything didn't warp and it's all still in a good position. And then we'll go ahead and get started with the rear. Bolted back in place. Best part about it being ugly back here is once it's all painted up, nobody's gonna even notice. It's gonna look super cool like this. But yeah, everything seems to be working pretty good. As you can see here, I got my tire off. And what I've went and done is put the caliper back into position and the axle back through. So we want to simulate this being already mounted into the bike. So this is already in position. And then this part gets kind of tricky. What we want to do is make sure we got full contact on the pads. And then we kind of just want to eyeball it right here and then figure out, you know, what position would be best. You know, if we go down something like this, am I going to be able to, you know, cut a line right here, weld it to the bottom, make sure it lines up nice and good. So basically something a little bit like that. You know, I'll have to play around with it and figure it out. This one is a little bit tough because it, instead of going straight over, it kind of leans over here. But yeah, I'll figure something out. Maybe do something like this, maybe something like this. But yeah, kind of give you guys an idea of the process I go through to make these dual caliper brackets. I might even pull out another brake I have back there and see if it's any different. But most likely I'll be going with this one. So I'm going to go ahead, brainstorm this, draw myself out a little line, cut it up, make sure it fits on there, And then from there we'll take this off. We'll put a nice bevel on both sides where I cut here and then this right here. That way we can get a nice deep weld in there. Grind it down all nice and flat, make it look like one piece. Put it together and then bleed this sucker, make sure it works. Guys, after carefully eyeballing it, you can see I got a nice smooth fitment right there. All the curves look good. Look down here. We got full contacts on the pads, both sides. Sorry, it's a little hard to see. It's overcast today, so it's hard to get good lighting. These pads are pretty big compared to, you know, the actual contact pads right here, but shouldn't be a big deal. But yeah, so like I said, just eyeball it. You know, if you have to, take both the brakes off and kind of, you know, I butted this one up against here, took my Sharpie, you know, drew myself a little line, cut it out, grinded it really good. And then as you can see, I got a pretty good bevel on it right now. So what I'll end up doing is pulling this the caliper off and give myself a nice little bevel here. And then I'll find somewhere nice and flat, lay these together. Let's see, yeah, you kind of see it shiny right there. I drew myself a line so I know how to align it once it's all off and together. That way, once I put everything back together, we should be good. We should have full contact with the pads themselves. And then basically from there, we can bleed it. I should probably paint it first, but I'll probably bleed everything and get it all ready before I bleed it. Make sure everything works. Before I paint it, make sure everything works. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. This is actually going together really quick. And I'm excited to have a foot brake and a handbrake. Alright guys, let me get this finished, start welding all this up, and I'll let you know how it goes. Alright guys, we are getting super close. I went ahead and tacked my brackets together, and then I went ahead and bolted everything back together real quick just to make sure everything still lines up and is exactly where I want it to be. Because at this point, if it wasn't exactly where I wanted to, it's very easy to break these tacks off real quick and readjust if I needed to. Fortunately, everything's lining up really good. Lining up really good back there. And then of course the stock caliper is going to stay exactly where it belongs. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with where it sits. It's kind of ugly, not going to lie, but you know what? It should work beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead, take everything off again, and completely weld this sucker. If you do copy me, be careful. I accidentally welded a little bit into the threads there, so I had to bust out the old tap to make sure I could get this bolt back in, the stud. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead, weld this up, and then from there, figure out what line I'm going to use, get the line attached, ran to where I need it. After some welding, some grinding, there's still a couple little pinholes here and there, but not a big deal. Nothing, a little bit of paint can't handle. But yeah, we got our dual caliper bracket ready to go. I'm just gonna let it cool off, then I'll throw it back on the bike, get the line ran, and hopefully we'll have a sweet little foot brake setup going along with our handbrake. Oh yeah guys, this has been a lot of fun. Hell yeah guys, this is looking sick. Came out beautifully, all bled up. Got the dual caliper right here, looking good, nice and solid. Ran my line, looking good, tucked up pretty good, and it feels absolutely great. Threw the plastics on just so you guys can kind of get a good look at it all together. Of course, sitting down on it, it's in such a good position. Plenty of adjustability, so I can loosen this or tighten this to bring the lever up or down. And then of course I have 3 positions that I can move the actual peg part backward and forward. Right now it's in the middle position. May end up moving it back just a little bit. Dang, that went together pretty smooth guys. Stoked on this. And yeah, so I mean, between the first gen and the second gen, I haven't seen anyone else do a foot brake yet. I mean, it's super easy, so let me know if you guys decide to do it or if you guys have already done it. Curious to see who else is out here modding these things like me. Looking good, nice and tucked up in there. But yeah guys, that's gonna do it for the foot brake video. hopefully I gave you guys a good idea how easy it is, and hopefully you guys do it yourself. I said I was going to test this, but obviously nothing's connected yet. So what I'm going to be doing once I do the sprocket video, well, actually I'll do a separate video. So I'll show you guys how to set up the flip ski to the BombMoto motor, and I'll run you through the vest tool, all that good stuff to get it set up. Get you some safe parameters like a little bass tune, show you some of the throttle mapping, all that good stuff. So look forward to that. I know you guys have been asking me nonstop for some vest setup. It is coming, but dang, that looks so good. I love all the little blue accents. That is going to do it for this video. If you liked it, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already. Hit that like button. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.